Hey, it's Nikki. Before we start the show, I wanted to invite you to download a free resource that I put together for you as the listener. This is my gift to you. You can get it right now. It is the 17 buying signals. Now, I wrote a whole book about buying signals, and I wanted to put it into a really simple format that you can have at your fingertips or in front of you whenever you want to. So I took out the 17 buying signals from the book, put them on a simple PDF, also gave you the kind of what to do when you get a buying signal, and explain what a buying signal is. So that PDF is available for you as a listener to go and download right now by going to yoursalesmaven.com/17. That's yoursalesmaven.com/17 so that you can start acting on these buying signals and closing more business. All right, when you're ready, let's start the show.
Do sales conversations make you feel awkward or pushy? It's time to ditch the outdated salesy strategies. Your guide, Nikki Roush, will show you how to combine kindness with selling skills to meet your prospects where they are, and in the process, how to up-level your influence and income. Learn how to earn business easily and effortlessly. Here's Nikki.
Welcome, and thank you for listening to the Sales Maven Show. I'm your host, Nikki Roush. Today's episode is a part of the Mastering Excellence series. This is the concept that comes from my background in neurolinguistic programming, where we learn that there is a structure to excellence. And once you understand the structure, you can then apply it to your own life and business and get similar results. So I'm super excited to welcome today's guest. It's Joe Sanok. Now, let me tell you a little bit about Joe. If you haven't heard him before or read his book, you're going to want to. But Joe is the author of Thursday is the New Friday: How to Work Fewer Hours, Make More Money, and Spend Time Doing What You Want. It examines how the 4-day work week boosts creativity and productivity. Joe has been featured on Forbes, Good Magazine, and the Smart Passive Income podcast. He's the host of the popular The Practice of the Practice podcast, which is recognized as one of the top 50 podcasts worldwide with over 100,000 downloads each month. Best-selling authors, experts, scholars, and business leaders and innovators are featured and interviewed in the 550 plus podcasts he has done over the last 6 years. Joe, welcome to the show.
Oh, Nikki, I'm so excited to be here.
I'm excited to have this conversation with you. So today we're going to really talk about and dig into how to boost creativity and productivity while working less, because I think most of us want that. At least I do. So I'm super excited to hear your take on this.
Yeah.
I like to give the audience a little bit of point of reference. You and I met not too recently, I guess, I was a guest on your podcast, and I feel like we hit it off, and then I wanted you to come on and share with my audience because I love the title of your book, Thursday is the New Friday. How long has the book been out?
Yeah, so it released in October of 2021. So At the time of this recording, less than a year.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay, well, let's dive right in. The first question I always like to ask is, if I got to stand in for you for a day, if I get to be you, what do I have to do and or think in order to boost my creativity and productivity while working less?
Yeah, so first it would depend which day you are standing in for me.
Okay.
If you are standing in on a Thursday afternoon, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or Monday morning, you would need to realize that your phone's probably going to be off or on silent. You're going to be doing a lot of fun things like stand-up paddleboarding, hanging out with my daughters, going for hikes with people, making dinner with friends. That genuinely I would be slowing down. You wouldn't get to check my email. You might watch some fun Netflix shows. So I would say that's where it all starts for me is aggressively having time that I just slow down. And then really the other days of the week, you would need to strap in because it's full tilt, just sprinting. And so on a work day, so for example, today, dropped off my daughter at her biking summer camp this morning, came home, had a meeting with my team in South Africa. Then immediately after that, had a pre-consulting call. Immediately on the minute after that, am doing this podcast with you. On the minute when we're done with this, I have another consulting call. Then I'm going to be eating while I drive my other daughter to sailing and come back, and then have 2 other podcasts right after that before I pick them up at 3:30. So it's like tons packed into a day, where I even say, like, where am I going to eat? Which is okay. You know, some people don't like that, some do, but it would be full tilt sprint and full tilt slowing down.
Awesome. I love the concept of it. I will say I just recently started implementing 1 day a week, like legitimately 1 day a week where I do not check email and I do not respond to any client stuff. And that's new for me. I've had my business for 8 years. So the fact that you're saying Thursday afternoon through Sunday, wow, impressive. But I like the full tilt, going the full tilt. Yeah. That's awesome. Okay. So what specifically would I have to do to behave like you with this idea of boosting creativity and productivity?
Yeah, I think that to behave like me, you'd first have to think through what boundaries are important to you, because not everyone's going to have that same schedule as Joe, nor should they. Their family lives, their goals, their values may align a little differently. And so if you're going to behave like me, I think first you have to kind of think like me. And that's specifically around really clear boundaries about what you don't want during that slowdown time and what you do want to achieve when you're actually sprinting. And so when you're sprinting, because I have a limited number of days and hours that I'm working, I need to be hyper focused on what I'm going to achieve during that time. And so I'm going into the week thinking about, okay, what's the best use of my time? You know, if I'm only going to work, 13 hours in a week, 14 hours in a week, what am I going to do during those hours and make sure that I'm getting the very best ROI on it, and then aggressively cut things out that aren't giving me that ROI. And so even being able to know the 1 or 2 things that make you money, the 1 or 2 things that give you new leads, the 1 or 2 things that really help move that needle forward. And then thinking about the things that sustain things within your business. But then what are the gambles? What are the things that you're putting time into that could really give you a huge return on investment for that too? That's going to really amplify things, 5, 10-fold instead of just, growing by 5%.
Yeah. Okay, so just for the audience, there's a couple notes that I just wrote down that Joe had shared. The first one is having really clear boundaries, asking yourself, what do you not want during your slowdown period? But then also asking yourself, what do you want during your go time? I loved that. And then, of course, for me, the idea of please everybody ask yourself, what are the 1 or 2 things that make you money? If you don't know that right now, that's crucial to the success of your business. So awesome. Okay. So what are your goals when it comes to boosting your own creativity and productivity?
Yeah, my first goal is to enjoy life. Recently my daughter's grandfather, my ex's dad, passed away. And so it's right in our faces right now, thinking about how the swim lessons he was doing with my 7-year-old, they're just done, and she doesn't get to complete the swim lessons she was doing. And so to fully enjoy life and to feel like I make the impact that I want to make all at once defines how I do work. And so if I really hate something, I'm going to ask myself, is this necessary for the business? If it's necessary, why am I doing it? If it's not necessary for me to do it, why am I not having a system or someone else do it? Like what's in the way of taking this off of my plate? And so routinely, I'm saying to myself, how do I take things off my plate that I don't like? And so that value set of enjoying the work that I do and feeling like it makes an impact on people, for me, is front and center in what I choose to spend time on and to dig into.
Perfect. So I love that your main goal is to enjoy life and that you're asking yourself really smart questions like, is this necessary? And if it is, do I need to do it? Those are 2 really powerful questions. I love it. Okay. My next question is, how do you actually go about reaching your goal of boosting creativity and productivity?
Yeah. So I think that for me and for most people, we start by entering into the weekend in a recovery mode. It's in reaction to the previous week. instead of in preparation for the coming week. And so to be more creative, it's not going to be when I'm most stressed out, when I'm most maxed out, when I'm the most tired. It's going to be when I have that downtime, when I'm taking a shower or going for a long walk, or maybe go for a drive with music and podcasts off, and just let my brain connect those parts of our brain that don't often talk to each other. And so those aha moments, those linking of clouds often comes when we slow down. When I'm out paddleboarding, I have more ideas than I know what to do with, but I never bring my phone with me. I never bring a notepad when I go paddleboarding. And maybe I'll remember that, maybe I won't. And if it's a good enough idea, it might rise up again. And so when I think about boosting creativity and boosting innovation, it always starts for me with slowing down, with allowing my brain to rest, with doing things that are healthy for my body. So, having green smoothies, occasionally doing float tanks, going paddleboarding, spending time with friends, all those things that I referenced earlier in the show. Those are the things that prime that ground to really be able to explode for me. So even at the time of this recording, we're about to have slowdown school here, where these entrepreneurs fly into Northern Michigan, and we genuinely slow down for a couple of days. We go for hikes. I bring in massage therapists. We have an executive chef come. We hang out on the beaches of Northern Michigan. And then after those couple of days of genuinely slowing down, we run full tilt towards their businesses. That's what then we see the aha moments come, where people say, I slowed down. I got a glimpse into having no work responsibilities, focusing on my body, focusing on going for hikes and moving and saying, I feel amazing. Like, why don't I feel amazing all the time at home? Well, because I'm not prioritizing all of these things. But then when they see how much they get done in the 2.5 days of work we do, they're like, I got more done in 2.5 days than I usually get done in months, because I wasn't procrastinating. I had this pent up kind of steam that I needed to blow off in regards to like the work. And then they have this aha moment of, okay, I can restructure things. And actually, I don't have to kill myself like I was before.
Okay. So first of all, I'm like, you have a slowdown school. I love that. That's awesome. Okay. So people come in and you do this slowdown thing for how many days?
Yeah, so they fly in on a Sunday and they fly out on a Saturday. Okay. And so we pick them up from our tiny airport here in Northern Michigan. Yeah. Take them out to the beaches, and we all stay out there and genuinely slow down for a couple of days, and then just run full tilt. They're learning to do what I do in a very microcosm sort of way, where we slow down and then we sprint like crazy.
That is so phenomenal. Wow. I'm impressed. And I'm like, I need some information on that slowdown school.
Yeah, you should come next year.
Okay.
Slowdownschool.com.
All right. There we go. Everybody, I'll see you at slowdownschool.com next year. Okay.
Sounds good.
Here's my next question is, how do you know you're actually reaching your goal? Did I already ask this? How do you know you're actually reaching your goal?
Yeah, I think for me, there's certain very clear KPIs in regards to just my numbers of what I want to hit. Mm-hmm. But to me, a lot of it is, am I making time for the things that I've blocked out in my personal life? If all of a sudden I'm finding when I put my girls to bed that I have to check email just to keep up with it, something's off. And that happens. We have times that maybe a season, you have a big launch, you have to do those things. But if that becomes the norm, then I'm going to ask myself, okay, what is happening here? Because this isn't the kind of life I want. And so that's going to be not reaching that goal of having the time freedom, of having, the happiness freedom, those sorts of things. So for me, part of it's intuitive in regards to how do I feel? Am I liking life, or am I kind of dreading working? Well, if I'm dreading working, I need to look at my schedule and say, what have I put into that schedule? Because when you own your own business, you're the one to blame for a bad schedule, and you're the one to blame for the stress. It's not your clients. It's not the industry you're in. This is your life. And so then for me, I often go to experiments to push back on what I think has to be the norm, to say, well, could I do things differently? So then I would adjust and try to get closer to what those end goals are. I think also, bringing people in that are smarter than myself, especially around money and bookkeeping and profits, having folks that can really help me understand what is the bottom line. As a creative, as someone that likes to be the innovator, I don't enjoy looking through my QuickBooks. Like, I don't like that, but I do need to know where I'm at financially. So to have my bookkeeper quarterly, we talk and we meet. I have a chief profitability officer that every single month we meet twice a month to look at what are trends we see, what could I do differently financially. That then keeps me on track for what my goals are in regards to the finances.
Such a great tip there. And I just want to reiterate for the listener, this idea of bringing people in, that it's so easy to think that we have to do it all. And somehow that's like a badge of honor to wear. And yet I think really when you bring in the people, I think using Joe's words, that are smarter than us and that can really support us, that is where the magic can happen. And that's where you can really step into your place of creativity and productivity, because now you're doing the things and focusing on the things that you love, that bring you that energy, that really feed your soul. But yet at the same time, you're not overlooking the really important pieces of your business that are going to help you reach that level that you are striving towards. Yeah. Okay. So is there any particular time, and you might have already answered this, but I just want to ask again, that you think it really is time for me to pay attention right now to boosting creativity and productivity?
Yeah. So I always set aside my most creative time during a specific part of the week. I know that when I have consulting clients, when I have podcast interviews, I want to get those out of the way before I do my creative time. And so knowing that Tuesdays and Wednesdays are going to be packed with primarily podcast interviews, with consulting, with things in our membership communities. For me, I really want to make sure that creativity comes out when that's kind of behind me for the week. So that's why Thursdays were the day that I spent writing the book. Thursdays were the day that I did, I do my YouTube videos. Thursdays are the days that I might just whiteboard stuff for part of a morning. It also gives me something to look forward to at the end of the week. I've worked really hard for the first couple of days, sprinted, and then to know there's a little bit of a kind of pressure release, but it's still work. It's still thinking about things that are bigger. But to really make sure that I, optimize that time for myself. So when I was writing Thursdays, the new Friday, there were certain habits that I did to make sure that I was using the neuroscience that I was learning about in writing the book as I wrote the book. And so to know that if you wake up and the first thing you do is to check your phone and to see what texts or emails you have, that sets your day on a certain trajectory where I may have a fire going on with one of my assistants that is totally going to distract me from my creativity. So when I was writing the book, I wouldn't check my phone until 11 a.m. or so to see if there was anything. But then part of that is you have to let people know, if they're used to you responding at 9 a.m., that's not fair to them. If your family or friends or, even your people that work with you don't know that. So I had to let my assistant know, hey, if there's an emergency, please call me. And if I see that there's a missed call from you on a Thursday, I know it's a big deal. So I can't just let things burn if things are happening. And so I'd protect my brain. I knew the kind of breakfast I needed to have my brain work well. I knew the level of caffeine. I knew I wanted to start with a green tea and then move into a cup of coffee. I knew that by lunchtime, I would need a green smoothie and a healthy lunch. And so all these things that create an environment of creativity can really help. It helps me and it can help other people be able to think through, how am I intentionally creating a creative environment? Even something as little as moving your environment and changing the lighting for different tasks can totally change your mindset. So when I was writing Thursdays, the new Friday, I would move the chair in my office to the other side of the room. It was my writing spot. I had a different light that I brought in that was in my daughter's room that was a little lighter. It had sort of like a different glow to it. I had headphones that I wore only for writing the book and had a playlist I only listened to when I was writing. And so my brain was triggered every single time I went into write, where I could jump right back into that creativity instead of having this, kind of startup phase or writer's block. I never had writer's block because I did all these things where I could just jump right back into that flow state.
Well, it sounds like you have really mastered the idea of having some process and structure to what it is that you do and found out what works for you. Like, what do you actually physically need to eat in order to boost your creativity? Where do you need to sit? How does the lighting need to happen? What do you need to, wear as far as headphones? These are all really beautiful examples of structure and how structure leads to exceptional results and you getting the book done and you accomplishing the things that you're doing. So this is fantastic. Now, you might not, as a listener, you might not think, oh, well, I don't like green smoothies. Okay, so find something that does work for you. Like look for these really gold nuggets that Joe is giving us. And how can you apply that in your own life and business? So I love that. Is there anything I haven't asked you specifically about boosting your creativity and productivity that you want to share?
Well, I think what you just said really taps into the big shift we've seen in society over the last 100 years. Henry Ford gave us the 40-hour work week in 1926. Henry Ford and the other industrialists wanted things to be like a machine that we could plug in and unplug, to have people be parts of this assembly line, that job roles that, hey, it doesn't matter who this person is as long as they can turn this thing counterclockwise. That's how they thought. And so even you saying, maybe you're not into green smoothies, that's the shift in a post-industrialist era, where instead of it being, here's the box to be in, here's the prescription, here's the 5 points that everyone should follow, it's more, here's the menu, try it out, experiment with it, look at what works, look at what doesn't work, and then adjust accordingly. So successful businesses, successful people, even for myself, to say, I'm going to do experiments and just see how my body feels. I'm going to pay attention to what happens. The first summer that I left my full-time job, I took every Friday off just as an experiment for that first summer to say, what does that do for my creativity? What does it do for my finances? And at the end of the summer, I had made more money than I had ever made. And I was happier, and I got to go paddleboarding with my kids and all sorts of things. And so then I permanently put that Friday in until it didn't work. There may be times that it doesn't work, or I need to change that up again. And so that idea of the post-industrialists, what we are is we're people that are looking at the menu, we're trying things, we're adjusting, we're experimenting, and we're leaving behind this prescriptive model that everyone's supposed to fit into some particular box.
That is fantastic. I love this. Thank you so much for coming and having this discussion with you. Are you okay if I ask you a few just questions for the audience to get to know you a little bit better?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Good. So my first question is, how do you celebrate your wins?
So when I have a really big win, there's a couple restaurants in town that I absolutely love that are right on the water, and I'll usually have a friend or some like a group of friends or my daughters, and we'll have just a crazy expensive, delicious dinner that we feel super guilty about doing. But then it's like I still remember the day the book released, my best friends, Paul and Taylor, the three of us went out to this place called the Boathouse, and they have this mushroom soup, and these mushrooms are super rare in northern Michigan. And this soup is like half a cup of soup. And I think it's like $17 per half a cup. And it's like, we're all getting this soup. And then we got all sorts of other food. And it's just a fun way to celebrate.
I love that. I love that you celebrate with extravagant, in your mind, extravagant things.
Yeah.
And I love the idea of the soup specifically. That's super fun. And now I want to try it.
Oh my gosh, it's insane.
Okay. So the Boathouse in Michigan, that's where we all need to
the
go.
morel mushroom soup. So morels are this mushroom that grows in northern Michigan, and super hard to find. They can't cultivate them privately. And literally people have to walk through the woods and find them. And they must just buy hundreds of pounds of this mushroom to have it year round.
That's amazing. Okay. What's one thing people would be surprised to learn about you?
Probably that I cry more than I would prefer. I have small tear ducts, so even when I yawn, I cry. But then I think it also carries over to I'll be watching a Disney movie with my daughters, and they'll turn to me and be like, "Dad, are you crying?" It's like, I'm just tearing up. They're such nice people. So I think I've never disclosed that. Your NLP is working.
Well, thank you for sharing. I will say I'm a big crier too, but I had a teacher who used to always say, it's emotional currency, Nikki. Tears are emotional currency. So I'm I am so rich in emotional currency.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
So I totally get that. Okay. What's something exciting going on in your business right now?
Yeah, so we continue to add membership communities, specifically for therapists and coaches. And so we have one that we've had for a while called Next Level Practice. That's for people that are just getting started. We have Group Practice Boss, but then the newest one is Audience Building Academy. And it's specifically aimed for counselors, coaches, therapists, people in more service-based industries that want to level up and start their own e-courses, start their own podcasts, things like that. So it's a new membership community and 6-month program to help people build their audience really with milestones. So every month has a milestone that the whole cohort works on. And then the next month they work on the next milestone. So yeah, Audience Building Academy.
Awesome. You have great names for your stuff. I love it. How can people right now that are listening, what's the best way for them to connect with you?
Yeah, I would say the best way is to just go to practiceofthepractice.com. We have all of our contact information there. We're on Instagram. If they want to email me and potentially work with our team, it's just joe@practiceofthepractice.com. And then the book is Thursday is the New Friday, wherever you get your books. I imagine your local bookstore would love for you to order through them.
Yeah, please listen to Joe's podcast. Check out his book. Thank you so much for being here. I'm really grateful to have had this discussion with you.
Oh, this has been awesome. Thank you so much.
And for you, the listener, thank you so much for being here. Appreciate you. Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks for listening to Sales Maven. Visit us online at yoursalesmaven.com/maven for more resources to boost your confidence and skills.